Hello, my name's Kathy Bissell. Welcome to the Golf Show 2.0. This week we have a person we met many years ago at the PGA show. He's now Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney, and Gary Van Sickles, my co-host, who knows more about Dan than almost anybody. Take it away, Gary.
I know too much. I once ghost wrote a story for him for Sports Illustrated. It was my pleasure.
One of
Dan,
the very first ones. Thank you.
the very first. Yeah. And, it probably changed the course of journalism history. I got a
Like
quick three
everything you've
question
written.
quiz here to test your knowledge. You live in Oklahoma. Uh, what state in America has the most man made lakes?
Oklahoma.
Oh,
People
that's
would never know
right.
that. More shoreline than Minnesota in Oklahoma.
Really?
And
Wow.
they're man made. That's incredible.
Yes, every one of them.
What state has the largest deposit of alabaster?
I'm gonna guess Oklahoma, but I didn't know it.
Yes, it's Oklahoma. It's there's a big cavern that's a tourist attraction. All right, and what state has the most Native American residents in America?
That's an easy one. Oklahoma.
Sorry, it's California.
Oh, well,
Really?
yeah. Well,
Okay.
that was loaded. You led the witness to having me say yeses,
Why
but yeah,
would
that
you
would
say
make
that?
sense. The population in California, by the way, man, my daughter lives
Yeah.
out there. It's
Oh,
a rough go praying for all those folks.
When I
yeah.
when I lived out there at night instead of your regular programming, when it was fire season, they would have every local network out there covering the fires. And so you'd see the helicopters flying in and out and the big planes flying in with loads of water, and they just dump it right all over. It's terrible and scary, and it's bad for lungs. If your house didn't burn down, your lungs will. I mean, it's an awful situation.
Yeah, it is. So thoughts and prayers with everybody out there.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, I was going to ask you if you knew that Guthrie was the original capital of Oklahoma, but you probably did. Anyways,
I
how
did.
about just
Born and raised here, so I know a lot about
you know a
Oklahoma.
lot, but you didn't know about the Native Americans. So you don't
I bet
advance
the
to the
I
bonus round. I'm sorry.
No, I don't. But I bet if we talk per capita, Oklahoma has the most Native American residents.
I,
Probably.
I would say without a doubt.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to let you explain, give a brief recap of what Folds of Honor is and how much it's done. But first, I just want to go on the record and say I'm so irate at our government that we need Folds of Honor and that our VA isn't like the best hospitals in the country. And I don't understand why we don't take immaculate care of all our veterans in every way. So it's discouraging that we need your group. So thank you for what you've done. Tell people exactly what Folds of Honor uh, does, and I think what you started in 2007. I think.
Yeah, we and I said we go way back. For me, it's a calling from God. I my background is unique in that I'm a fighter pilot and a golf professional, and that was my dream growing up. And it's always funny how your life transpires. And looking back, it's so clear that that dream was put on my heart for the bigger mission, which is Folds of Honor. And we started Folds of Honor 17 years ago, my wife and I, above our garage in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. There's a good Native American name for you.
Right.
And
I've been there.
with nothing. And I think that one of the reasons Folds has continued to grow and make a difference is because there's a just an authenticity to it, and everybody understands what it's like to go through life, by yourself, trying to make your way, trying to make a difference, and you know, starting from nothing. My wife and I wrote down the very first day, honor the sacrifice, educate the legacy. And it was always my greatest fear, Gary and Kathy, that if something happened to me
Yeah.
flying the F-16, what would happen to, my wife and my five daughters? And my obligation, as I felt, is make sure that they're set up for a successful life. And I have
Yeah.
no doubt in my heart. I watched my dad as a college professor at Oklahoma State, where I was born in Stillwater, give people the gift of an education, teach them how to fish. And I think that's at the foundation of freedom, in our country and around the world. When someone is educated, it changes the life landscape of everything. And I like other forms of charity, but I really believe in a lot of cases that when you give someone something, it's disabling, as opposed to coming alongside of a spouse or a child of a military member who's been killed or disabled. And we added first responders 2 years ago, and saying, hey, let's go chase your dream together. Here's an opportunity to get an education, but it requires effort and work.
Yeah.
And we know that those are the moments in our lives where you build self-belief in you and whatever your dream is. And so since we started, 62,000 scholarships out the door, about
Wow.
$290 million, and really proud to, we're still based in Oklahoma, which allows us to, I think, be super efficient, as opposed to lots of big nonprofits out there that are
Yeah.
in DC or New York. But 91 cents of every dollar we raise goes straight to fund scholarship programs. And Gary, I know you're a tough guy. I wouldn't call you a cynic. Maybe I would. We've known each other a
Oh
long
yeah.
way, but
You
yeah,
can
One,
but
call
one,
but
it
you
that.
just like to
one of
know
my
is like,
nicknames is Van Cynical. Yes.
yeah, Van Cynical. But I remember you asked me that question. It's like, where's the money go? And we've taken great pride.
91%. I saw it on the website.
Yeah, that
That's
when people make a
that's high.
donation,
That's great.
yeah, you want it to make sure that it's getting the place that's intended, and that's not always the case in nonprofits, and we're really proud of that. So it's been a crazy 17 years. I always thank God the 2,000 times I wanted to quit, I didn't, because that's the other undefeated, inexhaustible truth of life, is that when you're doing good work, it's going to be hard. And mirrors a combat mission in Iraq, and certainly mirrors you and I's golf game, Gary. It's hard, but we keep showing up because we got to. People are dependent on us.
Well, it's such an unusual combination: fighter pilot and golf pro. And
Yeah.
you've gotten a golf course built in Tulsa, and you've got one in Michigan. And you have this great golf tournament every year. Is it on Labor Day or around Labor Day? Tell us about the Folds of Honor golf
Yes.
tournament.
Yeah, so Memorial Day, Patriot
I knew
Golf
it was a
Days.
holiday. My bad.
Yeah, so we work with the PGA of America, and we ask golfers to go play a round of golf and over that weekend and make a donation to honor Folds of Honor. We also are proud supporters of PGA Hope, is as well. So it's a great time to go out if you love golf and you love your country. And at the end of the day, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is the purpose of life is living a life of purpose. And when you can combine that with something you already love to do, like play golf, it's easy to see why we're able to get people energized and excited about supporting Folds.
Now, can you tell us some of a couple of examples, without saying names, perhaps, of the recipients, the funding that
Oh,
they have received?
yeah, absolutely. So I'll never forget, like on the journey, the unexpected pieces of the journey. I mean, what we do is very clear. If someone is killed or disabled in service of our country or as a first responder, we come in and we give the gift of an education to spouse and the kids. And you would think it's about the $5,000 scholarship. And we awarded 10,000 of those this past year, so about $50 million. But probably the most shocking thing, and this young lady, Sarah White, her dad Dennis was a backseat fighter pilot in F-15 and was killed in a night mission over the Atlantic Ocean. And we took her all the way through her college at Auburn. And when she graduated, she said, I could have never attended Auburn without the financial assistance. He said, but the life-changing thing you did for me was that you honored my dad's sacrifice. And you're like, wow. And in a world that like everything's got to be about money. I mean, it's just crazy. It's like that's how we define success. It's like you won the tournament. Well, how much did you make? Who's at the top of the money list? And you realize that, money's a necessity to go and do things in life, but it's about us as human beings. And as I looked back, it was again like so clear when we wrote honor the sacrifice is the first thing we do. that is what means so much to these families, that
Sure.
sacrifice isn't not relevant. It isn't forgotten, that we were like, hey, thank you. Because after the funeral, it's sad, but they're off the base in a matter of weeks and kind of thrust back out
Okay.
into this world. And it's really easy to forget every day we wake up that freedom isn't free.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just wonderful that you're doing this. I assume you're now out of the garage and you might have an office for a couple of people.
Yeah, we do. So it's really nice. We have an office, which was donated by a big group of contractors here in Tulsa. So
Great.
they built our office, and yeah, we got a great team of folks that work every day on behalf of God and country, in that order.
Well, and they would do that in Oklahoma. I worked for some people who were from Oklahoma and from Fort Worth, Texas, and they were hardworking people. I give them that for sure.
I think it's pronounced Fort Worth,
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
to be technical, if you're going to speak Texan.
I've got people I can call about that, but yeah, it probably is.
This you also wrote a book. I think it's titled "Fly into the Wind." Is that correct?
That is correct. I was looking. Usually I've got a copy sitting around here, but I
Well, you got
don't,
a big fighter
because I'm
plane
the
fighter
only
behind you on
copy.
the wall there.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that one's pretty cool. I'll get it out of the way.
that
Yeah,
is,
that's
yeah,
cool.
it's
So that is just a cool story. So that's me in Iraq. That photo was taken off the back of an air refueler.
Oh,
So we air refuel. You're going
yeah.
310 knots. You're about 12 feet from a huge air refueling KC-135, and they plug it into the spine of the F-16. I'll try to point the right direction. Whoop, there we go.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, but they have a window, and so the air refueler, we have radio comms with them when we're getting our gas, which takes about 10 minutes. It's a lot like short putts too. It's always like the best advice when you're air refueling, because it's not easy. Is like wiggle your fingers and your toes. Like tension is the great enemy, because
Oh,
you're
okay.
constantly making adjustments with the throttle and stick power going up and down, and you're
At
in
how,
turns, you're in the weather.
at how
It's
many
yeah, hit some
100 miles
turbulence.
per hour?
yeah,
How
310
fast are?
knots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, about 350 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So a lot can go wrong. Unlike all the short putts I've missed in my life, it's you just pick it up and you move to the next
Yeah.
hole. But there's a radio connection through the air refueling boom that goes into the back of the F-16, and so you'll have a conversation, which is really nice, because most of our
Yeah.
combat stuff is comm out, so there's big time comm discipline out there. And it happened that the boomer is what they call it, the person that sits back there and actually flies this probe into the back of your jet, said, "Hey, I've got a camera." And he was like, "Do you mind if I take a couple pictures?" And I'm like, "No," but he said, "But I want them." And so I was like, "Here's my email address," in the middle of combat, right? "Here's my email address." And so that's a pretty fun one to remember, those moments delivering the president's mail over Iraq, which yeah, I've done 3 tours of duty over there, so spent a lot of time in
Huge.
that part of the world.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Thanks for your service and all this. The what was the closest you came, either in combat or anywhere in the F-16, to maybe checking out? You had to have had a close call somewhere.
Yeah, so this is it's one of those I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you, because the number one
Right.
rule of near death stories is we have to be drinking Budweiser
Okay.
to tell those. Um,
Well, how about
I
how about the fourth closest call then?
yeah,
Is that too classified?
I would tell you this, that it's a very high risk business up there, and there are numerous occasions in my life where I've come back and I've not poured a Budweiser but whiskey, because that almost happened. And it just everything happened so fast, and we're in such close proximity. There was one crazy night I remember. Actually, we were deploying to Iraq out of Tulsa. And I talked
Oh,
before about the air refuel, and I'll keep the story
yeah.
quick.
Yeah,
But
you
the
have
air
to.
refueling jet that takes us from Tulsa to Spain, and then we stop, and then we go Spain to Iraq. So it's a 12-hour flight, 10 air refuelings. We take off at 2 o'clock in the morning out of Tulsa, and we rendezvous with our tanker, and the tanker has a malfunction, and so we can't get gas. And so we've got to come back to Tulsa. And at that point, as we
Wow.
turn around and come back, there was a horrible thunderstorm line that had rolled through Tulsa. And our divert base, which was Fort Smith, Arkansas, was actually closed because it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And so we end up coming back into Tulsa, and there were 6 airplanes. And we're in what's called a daisy chain. So we fly behind each other at a mile apiece.
Yeah.
And we ended up flying in through this thunderstorm to land in Tulsa, which is crazy. As much as you've been shot at as an F-16 guy in Iraq, that was the scariest thing that ever happened to me in the jet, which I made it through. And when you leave to go to combat, I say that the hardest thing you ever do is you kiss your wife and your kids goodbye to go to combat. And at this point, all my girls are pretty little. And so I ended up coming back to Tulsa and walking in my front door after a few whiskeys at 9 o'clock in the morning. They're like, "Dad's home from Iraq. This is awesome." And so obviously I left the next night again. But yeah, without violating our code of conduct,
Right.
that's a good near-death story.
Well, in general, I mean, you forget that weather's always a factor, but what was a bigger danger for you on your missions? Is it ground fire, ground air missiles, or other planes?
Yeah, so all of those are risks that we mitigate, but by far the number one death toll over there was weather related or running into somebody else, as opposed to, we call it the golden BB, getting hit by a surface to air missile or air to ground fire. We're a small target and we're moving really fast. So I always used to brief in combat. I was like, hey, the 3 ways we're going to die tonight: you run into each other, you run out of gas, or you run into the ground. So let's not do any of those things, and you're probably going to be safe.
Where can people find your book, by the way? Fly
Um,
into the Wind.
They can visit our website, foldsofhonor.org, for a signed copy, or you can buy it anywhere they sell books. Amazon's where everybody gets books, so you can get it out there, and you can get it. I read the audio version, so people
Oh, okay.
have really enjoyed that. And I didn't talk much about the book, but I love the title, "Fly into the Wind," and where that title comes from is when I was 12 years old, Gary. I met my first fighter pilot, and I'm like, I want to grow up and be like Steve Courtwright, was the guy's name. And I'm playing golf with my dad a couple days later, and I'm like, Dad, I know what I want to do with my life. I want to be a golf pro and a fighter pilot. And his response to me was, "Son, can you tell me which way an airplane takes off?" Well, it's like, hey, I think it's into the wind. He said, "It's exactly right." But as that relates to every one of our lives, then an undefeated truth is resistance is inevitable. It will be in every one of our walks, the challenges, the inevitable struggles. But when you realize in life that, that's God's most divine gift, because you need that resistance to ascend, to evolve as a human being. And that at the end of the day, man, you're going to write your legacy on the days that it doesn't go your way. And that book is all about living by a code that I live by every day, regardless of the circumstances, because the circumstances are going to happen. Weather's going to roll through your life, but you can't let that keep you from executing on a daily basis against the most important mission. And that's, why did God put you on earth? And few people ever even ask themselves that question, but you should be able to answer that one immediately. And for me, it's like, hey, I'm on planet Earth to serve God, my family, my friends, and my country, in that order. And I will do that every day by doing good work and spreading the good word. And
I
it's
feel
then and
like
only
I feel like
then
it's
can you,
Sunday morning and you should be behind a pulpit. You're
Yes.
awesome.
yeah,
You
no,
are
but it's
awesome.
then and only then people are like, man, I just want to live a full life. You got to take the time to figure out why you're here. And oh, by the way, you have to do that in silence, and nobody can sit for 5 minutes in silence anymore. And then it's just about building a routine on a daily basis, which is Flying the Wind's a very routine based book that allows you to live a life that is congruent to
Okay.
our short journey that is here.
Well, I
Tell
think
us
I
how
have to read
you wound up building 2 golf courses, if there's a
Golf
short version of
churches.
that.
Yeah, short version is I'm an idiot.
that.
Um,
And the new paragraph.
yeah.
I worked for a
Uh,
golf course developer for many years, so I understand that.
so my life anthem has produced some pretty cool stuff, but it comes with a lot of struggle, and it's go before you're ready. So
Okay.
that's the real punchline of building 2 golf courses, and how God put those on my heart was I call them golf churches. When you think of the game of golf and the people that are tuned in, listening here, I mean, the golf community and the game itself, it's so spiritual. The fellowship that we enjoy, the game, this paradox of life when you're out on the golf course, it's you against you. I mean, that's the battle we're all trying to win every day. And for me to create 2 unique golf courses whose core values are God, country, and golf in that order, and to bring the spirit of the game and the benevolent soul of the people who play this game together for something bigger than themselves. And it's cool because this year we'll be on the Golf Channel at the Folds Collegiate at American Dunes, which
Yeah.
Jack Nicklaus built at no fee. And that is September 8, 9, 10. And then we jump into our favorite couple weeks of the year, which is Ryder Cup. And then we'll come out of the Ryder Cup for a Corn Ferry Finals event here at the Patriot on the Golf Channel. So people, and that's October 1 through 3 is that event. So people will be able to tune in and see both of them. But if you go to American Dunes,
I've
golf
got to
club.
put that on my I got to put that on my to-do list. I really do.
It's religion. I mean, it just
Yeah.
is. And we're the only golf course besides Augusta who the voiceover is by Jim Nance. So if you go to the website, go to American Dunes website and click
Wow.
the video and get ready for God chills.
Now, is that the one in Oklahoma or is that the one in Michigan?
American Dunes is in Michigan. So
Okay.
Jack did that one in the Patriot, which is where I live,
Okay.
here in Oklahoma. And my buddy Robert Trent Jones Jr. did that one, Bobby.
Some
Okay.
I was just in Oklahoma for the PGA. Somehow I didn't have time that week to get out there and play. That's my bad.
That is
But
your bad. Too busy writing. I would have given you a place to stay out here, Gary, too.
well,
Shoot.
it's information that could have been brought to my attention sooner.
Yes.
I knew where he was going with that.
I know it's just too easy. It's funny you mentioned this religious thing, and I'll keep this short. But I just finished writing a story about why we love golf and why golf is popular, and I can't come up with a single reason until at the end I realized I watched that Robin Williams clip where he does the 2 drunken Scots inventing golf, and they're trying to make it impossible because they hate themselves. And then there's all these obstacles they're gonna throw, and at the end I'll put a little flag on it just to give them hope. That's it. Golf is a game of hope and faith, and you're always one swing away from redemption and forgiveness. And that's why we keep playing, because the next shot, the next round, the next
Could be the
day,
one.
you have hope. And
Yeah.
just like in religion. So
Yeah. And we congregate on the golf course. I call it golf church. I'm like, hey, I'm going to golf church. My 3 best buddies going to play golf is the most religious experience I have. I'm a devout Catholic and I go to mass and I love that piece of my life, but spiritually so connected to the game. And I want to can I talk about one thing real quick
Absolutely.
too?
Whenever you
That's on
like.
my shirt, Fold of Honor Friday. So we spent the last 2 days working on this. So I called Jay Monahan, who obviously is the commissioner of the PGA
Yeah.
Tour, about 2 years ago. And I said, hey, Jay, I've had something on my heart. I've been trying to get it done, trying to get to you. But golf is the only major sport that does not observe the national anthem in this country. And
Yeah.
fair to say, I'm passionate about my country and the game of golf. And his response, like so many, was like, wow, I never realized that. And there aren't many original ideas, and they're not ours. Like, God puts these on our heart. And he said, you know what? Let's figure out a way that we can get the national anthem to the game we love. And there's like anything, there's 1,000 reasons why not, that you got to get yourself through. But at the end of the day, it is an inexhaustible truth. And I love that term. Like, what's an inexhaustible truth? Things that are inexhaustible. Mozart, the Bible, helping someone else, things that you just know at your core are right.
2-year-olds are inexhaustible.
Yeah. Well,
Freddie and the Dreamers. No,
the
I'm kidding.
national anthem to start
Yeah.
an NFL football game with a flyover. I mean, it's
Yeah.
as good the 1,000th time you've been there as it is the first time you've been
Yes.
there. And so, to Jay's credit, and on the PGA Tour, we launched Folds of Honor Friday. Mr. Nicholas launched it at the Memorial last year. In a game full of traditions, we are on this unapologetic march to build a new tradition in golf, and that is to make sure that we observe the national anthem. And I am, I think, annoyingly persistent, and
No, not
with
you.
the tour, but we'll hopefully have north of 40 events this year that
Oh, that's
observe
good.
Folds of Honor Friday. They're playing
Yeah.
the national anthem, and then they ask players and fans to wear red, white, and blue. And my prediction is this year you're going to see a lot of players
Okay.
that you know very well walking out of the locker room in red, white, and blue. And the reason we ask them to do that is simply to say thank you for all those who are serving. In our military and first responders, a very reverent, quiet expression of gratitude.
I
And
think that's
bringing
an easy yes.
patriotism to the game of golf and Folds of Honor Friday is that is, my 2025 heart on fire. I think about it 7 days a week.
That
And
is awesome. I wish one of the great moving experience I had was when the tour had a stop at the Greenbrier. It was renamed a few times, but it became the military tribute back when the governor owned the Jim. I'm drawing a
Jim
blank on his
Justice.
name. The
Yeah.
large guy.
Justice.
Yeah, Jim Justice, and they had a national anthem. They brought a singer in, and they had, and there was a flyover. It was really cool. So that's an incredible idea. I can't wait to see that in action.
I think everybody should get the lady who sang in Pittsburgh the national anthem at last week's game. Is that what it was?
yeah,
She
our
was like
country
a
needs.
concert of a national anthem. We're going, where has she been all these years?
I know, and it's like, it's a unifying moment. We got to pick red or blue all the time. I was like, what happened to red, white, and blue? Man,
Yeah.
regardless of who is president, who's in politics, this is the greatest country in the world. Inexhaustible truth. And we're blessed to live here, and we're blessed to have our military, and we're blessed to have first responders that show up.
Well, and our
Well,
it's an easy yes for the tour players to say to their manufacturers and suppliers, I need something red, white, and blue for Friday every week I play this year. And they're going to get it. Those people are going
Yeah.
to come up with great designs, and the players are going to look great. And it'll be like a Ryder Cup every Friday.
Yeah, it's good. We need more opportunities to celebrate
Yeah.
this country and the great people that make it such.
I agree.
well, we need more guys like Lieutenant Colonel Dan, nicknamed Noonan, Rooney, and everything you've done is just remarkable. You could be governor or possibly president if you really wanted, but
Yeah, who wants
you
any of those jobs is a
No.
better question
That's
to you,
hard.
Gary.
you
Never.
can't get anything done when you have those jobs. You can get
No.
more done doing what you're doing, and it's incredible. Folds of Honor. Check it out online. Check out the golf tournament. You're forced to play golf for your country. Gee, sign me up.
Yeah.
It's great.
buy the book, make a donation. It all goes
Play his
to
golf courses.
good people doing good things, and that's
Yeah.
always a bonus.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And